What was the best part of your trip?
The trains really gave us the freedom to plan our own holiday. We went to lots of places which were out of the way and met lots of local people. You know, small rural towns where trains are still an important form of transport.
We'd like to meet the local people. Did you do that easily?
Yes. The trains in Europe aren't like the commuter trains in London. People like to talk and have a chat on trains in Europe.
That's nice.
Yes. The train times were okay as well. Sometimes we had to get up early to catch the trains, which were crossing into another country. But most of the time we were satisfied with the timetables. Very punctual.
Should we take an alarm clock?
Well, I would. Having an alarm clock made us sleep more comfortably. We knew that we'd wake up on time.
And were the trains safe? Did you travel at night?
Lots of students travelled at night because it saved having to pay for accommodation.
I hadn't thought of that.
Well, lots of others have thought of it. We preferred to stay in local pubs or student hostels because you could mix with the locals. The night trains were filled with British students.
It sounds as if you had a very positive experience. Is there anything you'd recommend we take or do?
Let me see. I can certainly tell you what not to take or do. Don't take much luggage. There just isn't very much room in the trains for big suitcases. A backpack or 2 small bags is better than 1 big bag. That way you can also get on and off the trains easily too.
I'll remember that. My mother always says to pack 1 week before you go on vacation and then take half of it out the night before you leave.
That's good advice, especially when you're riding on cramped trains. The other thing is to be careful with your valuables. Lots of students had money and passports stolen, especially at night.
Did you have anything stolen?
No, but we met lots of people who did have things stolen. We all had money belts under our jackets.
I'll have to buy one of those.
Yes, you should. Or you can borrow mine if you like.
Oh, thanks. That'd be good.
The only other thing I'd advise you to do is to make sure you spend a reasonable amount of time in each country. We found that lots of students travelled too quickly, and they didn't have enough time to meet the locals and enjoy the food and the culture.
How long do you think you need in each country?
I can't say. It'll depend on who you meet and what you like to do. And, of course, the weather. It was so warm and sunny in some beachside places that we stayed for 4 or 5 days. In other towns, if it was very quiet or boring, we just stayed overnight.
I guess that's what's great about the train. You can come and go as you please.
Exactly. And it's cheaper and much more relaxing, not to mention safer. I don't think I could get used to driving on the right-hand side of the road.
If you take these precautions and still get robbed, please contact your nearest police station. You can, of course, come to the Darlinghurst police station, but this isn't necessary. The police will need to get certain details, in particular, your name, your contact phone number, and the time that the robbery took place. We'll also ask you for the exact location of the incident. Please take note of the nearest cross street or laneway. A lot of the victims haven't been able to tell us this, but it is vital if we're going to catch these thieves. Or try to remember the name of the nearest shop. We are trying to establish any patterns to the thefts. We will also need a full description of the bag or article that was snatched. Most of the bags are found discarded nearby with the cash and credit cards gone. Obviously, you'll need to cancel your credit cards as a matter of urgency. The only protection you have against being made responsible for illegal use of your credit card is if you report the card stolen before the thieves can use it. We are confident that these thieves will stop their practice if we show that we're aware of their presence and limit their profits. The Darlinghurst Police have some plainclothes female detectives in the area now, and we're sure to catch them. Getting accurate locations of these incidents is vital. It's not our intention to frighten any of you, but we do want you to be aware of the problem and hopefully avoid any trouble. Are there any questions?
I'm sure that you have all heard about international driving licenses. They have been around since 1949, when the United Nations gave approval for their use. This meant that travellers could drive freely in the 186 countries that recognise the International Driving Licence System, regardless of the language that the drivers spoke. The only conditions were that the driver had to already hold a driving licence in their home country, and they had to be at least 18 years of age. International driver's licences are well recognised. After all, they've been in use for over 50 years. To break the language barrier, the licence is printed in 11 different languages, but the last page of the booklet is always in French. As I said, it is a booklet, about the size of a passport, 10.8 by 15.25 centimetres to be exact. So it is easy to carry with your travel documents. It's not too thick or heavy either, only 17 pages. All of the pages are coloured white, but the cover of the licence is grey. It is a useful form of identification when you travel because it includes a passport-sized photograph and the driver's signature. The International Driver's Licence can only be purchased from authorised travel associations in different countries, but it can also be ordered on the internet. The cost, of course, varies from country to country, and for the term or the duration of the licence. For example, a 1-year licence might cost approximately $40, whereas a 3-year licence costs double that. A 5-year licence will set you back about $100.